Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is one of the most beloved franchises to exist, and it is a nativized version of the Jew Ranger series in Japan. There is a long history to the series itself, however, that in itself is a video, and in this video we will be covering mainly the MMPR original toy line, specifically from 1993 to 1995. The original Power Rangers toy line began in 1993 with a starting wave called the Basic Series, which featured originally the blue, red, pink, yellow, and black Rangers. Each figure consisted of simple articulation and an accessory. Each 8 inches in size, soon following, Bandai releases the Series 1 Aliens, or the villains of the series, consisting of Baboon, Monkey Bat combo, Bones, a literal pile of bones that has come to life, Finster, a sort of leprechaun dog mixture of a villain, and Goldar, my personal favorite, the most well-known villain, a sort of bat-monkey combination as well, but all gold. Others included King Sphinx, the Putty Patrol, which acted as the main nameless goons for the villains, and Squat, the dim-witted sidekick of Baboon. However, all the original figures were so sought after that Bandai had to make an article in magazines and in stores stating that they apologized for the shortage of figures and were working hard to get them out faster.
Okay, so how do you feel about the original toy line being out of stock?
Oof. So I didn't grow up personally in that time frame. I was a 2000s baby. I was born in the year 2000. But when studying and kind of diving into like the history of like stuff like this, like Power Rangers, for example, like I caught wind of that and actually looked into it, and like there were kids that were crying, there were kids that were mad, parents were mad because they couldn't fill out birthday lists, Christmas lists, So I mean, for toy companies like Bandai, that's awesome. Like, oh man, the toys are selling like hotcakes. Let's get some more out, So, I mean, it was awesome that they personally did that in the first place with the sign. Be like, we're sorry, we're trying to get them out faster for you all to enjoy and collect, whatever. And honestly, I think that's actually really cool. That just shows like that
there's a serious demand.
There was serious demand, and it was a freaking gold mine, dude.
I don't think anything like that's going to happen in the modern day, though,
Nope.
Which is a shame. That's why this was brought up, because it's crazy to think that that's not ever going to happen again.
Even Ninja Turtles didn't even do that. That's crazy to think that. Dang.
Also, how do you feel about the toy line? Do you think it's okay?
Oh, dude, I love it.
I mean,
okay, so I'm all about like the 90s campy stuff. So seeing basically Beverly Hills mixed in with like Kamen Rider, Ultraman, stuff like that, like stuff that like my dad showed me as a kid, because he showed me the original Ultraman and stuff like that as a kid. Like seeing Power Rangers, like that was my Ultraman. That was my those were my superheroes. They weren't like Superman or Batman. I got into that later on, but Power Rangers were like my jam. Like Tommy was, I think everybody can agree, like Tommy was like everybody's favorite.
Tommy's amazing.
Except for Kimberly. Everybody liked Kimberly. Most of the guys.
No comment.
Yeah.
Next in 1994, Bandai released the original team of Rangers, but now with a karate-kicking action, which made the figures lack articulation when compared to their original counterparts. These were also mass-produced and are the most common to find of the original US toy line. The Aliens in 1994 consisted of Goofish, Guitardo, the evil Lord Zed himself, Rhino Blaster, Piranha's Head, Socadillo. Later on in 1994, Bandai managed to create gold by introducing the ever-popular auto-morphing Rangers line, which would automatically swap out the Rangers' human heads with their helmets. The Aliens would also receive an upgraded toy form, now having action features, but at the cost of a slightly smaller scale, which personally, I don't know. So, what's your favorite alien, and do you like the auto-morphing feature?
My favorite alien, that's kind of hard because I think Goldar is probably my favorite. Just him being like, I kind of idolize with Goldar being like a dumb brute, but like kind of smart and dangerous at the same time. I'm dangerous out in these streets. Lord Zed was awesome when they first introduced him. Like, I don't think people understand like how Lord Zed was first introduced. He was scary, dude. Like the brain, like when he was first introduced, like when you saw like he was like, I am Lord Zed, Emperor of all I see, and then he blasted into Rita's like base and whatnot, and then he turned around in that thing, and all you see like the blood coming through like his tubing all over his body, and his brain pulsating. He had the snake, and it was crazy. And then unfortunately, parents complained that he was too scary for kids, and then they dumbed him down, unfortunately. But he was a really like villain. But yeah.
I will give you that. I'm not into Power Rangers that much anymore, but I mean,
Whack.
From the original series, that was a pretty defining moment. I always remember that.
Nice. And for the automorphing thing, I think it's a really cool feature. I mean, it's pretty simple. Just flip the belt buckle and then do the.
You think modern figures should have that?
Yeah, I would collect that. I mean, I understand that they've re-released those countless times throughout like the past decade or whatever, but I personally don't have any. I don't know why, but if they ever did them again, or if I find them, I definitely would pick them up just for that, nostalgia, really. Toyline itself consists of many variants to each Ranger, as well as a massive number of aliens. However, the main focus of today's episode is towards the very end of the 1994 toy line, that being the only playset Bandai released for the Mighty Morphin figures, the Power Dome. The Power Dome was at the top of every kid's holiday list back in 1994, due to the sheer fact that it is the Ranger's main base. This set also is the only release of Zordon and Alpha 5 in toy form.
So we recently got a bunch of cool Power Ranger stuff in, and I want to talk about the Power Dome playset from 1994. Bandai put this out, and it was, I think, pretty much the only Power Ranger playset that actually came out. And they did the Command Center. It was the only way that you could get the Alpha 5 figure for the original toy line, and it was compatible with the 93 automorphing figures. And there were a lot of cool features for this playset. Something that wasn't in the show was this vehicle here that any of the Rangers could use, and it shot missiles. There was a knob here where you could pretend like Zordon was talking, and you could even make him talk with this speaker thing that comes out that you can use to talk and pretend it's Zordon. And then something really cool, which was the main feature for this playset, was that the automorphing figures you can place in this chamber, and there is a thing in the back to where the idea is that you would clip them in and you would bring them up and they would morph, which was pretty cool. It also came with a desert terrain, which we do not have. It was a cardboard piece to kind of simulate like how in the show this thing was just in the middle of the desert. So yeah, this thing is really cool. It's pretty hard to find with a lot of its pieces, and we're pretty fortunate to have it near complete.
Another piece that we got in that was really, really cool and really excited that I saw was Serpentera. This came out in 1994, 1995, and this was Lord Zedd's own personal Zord. It obviously doesn't scale well with the rest of them, because in the show, this thing is like a mega kaiju thing, like even bigger than the Megazords and everything like that. Like, it made the people little bitty. But the difference between this one and the Japanese version that was in Die Ranger, because most people probably are not really Super Sentai or whatever, right? In Die Ranger, the Serpentera that came in Japan had like glitter in the green plastic. It had sound effects, which this one doesn't have. And I guess for child safety regulations, they had to fill in the fins, because the fins didn't have that fill-in with the yellow. This right here also has instructions and an unused sticker sheet, by the way, which is actually, we haven't got that in before. That's really neat. This is probably one of the cooler pieces, in my opinion, besides the Power Dome, but this right here is like, Right here is probably another cool piece that we got in that we've honestly had pieces for, but we were recently able to complete within a recent collection. This is Power Rangers In Space Red Ranger Battleized version, and Liam, take it away, man.
So what makes this figure super unique and super cool and super sought after is the fact that this was the first battleized anything for Power Rangers. If you do not count the Green Ranger when he transferred the shield over to the Red Ranger, which I personally don't, this is the first battleized Ranger. In Space is one of the more popular series, and just the fact that this was what really kicked off a lot of later seasons Red Rangers having armor that would go onto them makes this figure super desirable and super tough to complete. Something that was interesting too was that In Space also had put out battleized versions of the Black, Silver, and Blue Ranger, which were not appeared in the show, and a lot of their armor was pretty wacky compared to the Red Rangers, which makes this figure super, super cool. One of the last things we want to talk about that was really cool for us coming in as Power Ranger fans was that we were able to get an original Green Dragon Dagger and White Ranger Saba Sword. Both are working, which is super, super cool. And this thing is just awesome. If you're a Green Ranger fan or a Power Ranger fan, this is quintessential right here. The sound effects are pretty cool. So if you press this first button here, you've got the classic, Dragon Dagger sounds. In the middle, you've got a little bit of the theme song. Pretty cool. And then for the last button, you've got where he can call the Dragon Zord. And there's also a fourth button for just sound effects. This was released in Japan a year prior for Zyuranger, and I believe it's pretty much the same toy, just different sound effects. I could be wrong, there could have been a slightly different change, but to my knowledge, this is pretty much the same toy as the one in Japan.
And then this one came out a little bit later, after obviously the Green Ranger Tommy lost the powers to the Green Candle and whatnot. He came back later on as the mighty White Ranger, and with him he came with the trusty and loyal Saba Sword. And this also can make some sound effects. It also has an extending blade, you know, so that's really neat. And it also makes some sound effects like Saba's roaring and whatnot. I don't know what that's supposed to be, but it's not the White Ranger's theme or anything like that. But then also, this is kind of cool. Tigers or Power Now. And, you know, I think Tommy, in my opinion, is probably one of the better Rangers. He's more iconic, he's more recognizable. Every appearance that he's been in, whether it be Mighty Morphin, Zeo, Turbo, Dino Thunder, you name it, people will always remember Tommy in general. So these are really, really neat pieces, and I think if anybody, just like with the Dragon Dagger, if you are a Power Ranger fan or a Tommy fan, you need to have this in your collection, in my opinion.